I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid fruity pebble chain. We bag enough. I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid fruity pebble chain. We bag enough. Poppin' tan model BC couldn't brag 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 enough. I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid
and welcome once again to another episode of the Horizon Roundtable. I am Bob McDonald. You can find us on the web at horizonroundtable.com. You can find links to all of our social accounts and sites where you can find us where podcasts are available at horizonroundtable.com/subscribe. Become a patron, patreon.com/Horizon Roundtable. The features are already out and you can't read them unless you become a patron. For as little as $1 a month, go to patreon.com/Horizon Roundtable. And, of course, we have our off-season donation drive. We do want to get ready for preview week, so you can donate to us at horizonroundtable.com/donate. So, as I promised, the next episode was going to be with the new IU Indy head coach, and it turns out it's going to be Ben Howlett from... It didn't turn out to be. It is Ben Howlett, the former very successful coach at West Liberty, and he is going to be, taking over the reins at IU Indy. And I had an opportunity to talk to him, and you know what? Forget all of that. Let's go ahead and get into the interview right now with Ben Howlett. All right, and we are now with the new head coach at IU Indy, Ben Howlett. Coach, thank you very much for joining us. Great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. Looking forward to it.
All right. So I'm just going to jump right into it. Usually when we're talking to coaches, we usually ask them about, the coaches who influenced them. In your case, it's Jim Crutchfield. Some of you not only played for, but also served as assistant to until he took the job at Nova Southeastern, where you were selected as head coach to take his place. Beyond the style of play, which we'll talk about here in a moment, what is that relationship with him grown? How has that relationship grown with him over the years?
Yeah, I think one thing that first off, he spoke with me about when I took the job at West Liberty is just kind of be yourself. Don't try to be Jim Crutchfield. Just be Ben Howlett. And obviously we were going to run the similar style of play that we ran both as a player and as a head or assistant coach when I was there. But truthfully, he's pretty busy with his teams down at Nova Southeastern. I was busy with my teams at West Liberty, and obviously we saw each other a couple times. This past year at the Elite Eight, saw each other 2 years ago in the national championship game. But obviously it's one of those things that a lot of my basketball knowledge came from him, and I'm very appreciative of the fact that he was able to give me the knowledge that he has with basketball, and obviously he's been a big part of my coaching career.
All right. Well, I'm glad you brought up the national championship game because from 2 years ago, naturally we could look at the kind of a student versus teachers type of situation, but in that moment, what was your experience like when you were facing him during that game?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I've talked about this with a couple people. When you're at the Elite Eight, at the Division II level, all the teams stay at the same hotel, and a couple of teams use the same breakfast line. Their meeting rooms are literally right beside each other, and it just so happens that we shared the same breakfast line, and our meeting rooms were directly right beside each other in the hotel. So it was kind of odd that we were playing Nova Southeastern in the national championship day and the national championship game, and that same day we're literally in the same breakfast line getting eggs and bacon and sausage. So it's just kind of a unique situation. And the one thing that I remember about that is just the amount of support that both teams got because of the West Liberty connection. Obviously with Coach Crutchfield being at West Liberty, both as a tennis coach and a basketball coach, and myself being there as a player and assistant coach and head coach, somehow, some way, West Liberty was going to win the game, and obviously we fell short in the game. But I think the fans definitely got their money's worth. There was a lot of points scored. The game was up and down. There was a lot of possessions in the game, and it certainly didn't hurt for ratings on CBS there.
So now, while the casual college basketball fan maybe only recently being familiar with the talent within the coaching and player ranks within Division II, we in the Horizon League have a little bit of a different experience with that because we're very familiar, not just with Division II, because we've had Division II players and coaches come in through the years, but specifically the Mountain East Conference, because they produce quite a few familiar faces we've watched over the years. The one I always come back to is Jared Calhoun, who obviously was coaching at Fairmont State when you were still an assistant. Is there something in particular about the MEC that's kind of attracted schools like those in the Horizon League to recruit coaches from their ranks?
I don't know. I think the Mountain East is a very good basketball conference. I think it's the top teams of the Mountain East produce really good teams. And obviously with really good teams, a lot of times you're going to have really good coaches and really good players. So, if you go back to Jared Calhoun's days at Fairmont State and Coach Crutchfield's days at West Liberty, and Rob Summers was at Urbana, and now he's the head coach at Cleveland State, and a good friend of mine, Dwayne Osborne, who's the associate head coach at Youngstown State. Like there's a lot of Mountain East connections in the Horizon League, or have been in the Horizon League.
Mark Richmond too.
Mark Richmond, absolutely, at Notre Dame. He was, had some great teams and had some great battles with him at Notre Dame. And I just think it goes to show Division II basketball, especially in the Mountain East, is really high level basketball, and there's a lot of high level coaches and players.
Glad you brought up the high level coaches because I brought up Calhoun because of another notable MEC coach with Joe Mazzulla, a guy the guy who replaced him. And obviously, he, when Jared Calhoun went to Youngstown State, and of course, obviously, he went on to win an NBA championship with the Celtics. But during the 2 years he was at Fairmont State, which coincided with your first 2 years at West Liberty, your team's kind of battled. You split the series over that time frame. When you look at what Mazzulla has done in the NBA now, do you ever look back and think about the games you coached against him during that time frame?
Yeah, I tell you, we had some, in his short stint as Fairmont State's head coach, we had some great games. And I think, and don't quote me on this, I think we were split. I think we were 2-2 against each other. I know they beat us at the buzzer one of those games. And the thing I like and appreciate with Joe is just he's the same guy he was at Fairmont State as he is with the Boston Celtics. And some of his post-game media, people laugh at that, but that's just kind of the way he is. He's just, always studying the game of basketball and just obsessed with basketball. And we were lucky enough to recruit against each other when he was at Fairmont State, and just a tough guy on the road to beat in recruiting wars. So it doesn't surprise me that he shut up that fast and has had that much success at the NBA level, because just the amount of work that he put in, at the Division II level, and then the amount of work he puts in the NBA.
Yeah. So I wanted to circle back to the system you've run at West Liberty. For the uninitiated, they'll look at the stat sheets over the season, be blown away that West Liberty averages like at or near triple digits in offense every season. But the one thing that I looked at, and this is the one thing I noticed as well, is the scoring differential. And that also has been consistently in the double digits throughout your tenure. If you could you give us a kind of a Cliff Notes version of the system and what strategy what your strategy is going to be to implement this at IU Indy?
Yeah, I'll try to give you the Cliff Note version here. So from an
to be fair, we have plenty of time. So
okay, no, I'll give you the abbreviated version here. So from an offensive standpoint, what we're essentially trying to do is we're running a 5-out open post motion, and we're not going to pigeonhole players into positions. And so we're not going to have a true point guard, or we're not going to have a wing, or we're not going to have a true center. All of our guys are very skilled, and all of our guys are very versatile, meaning they can all run, dribble, pass, shoot, and play multiple positions. So for us, like we're never the most intimidating team. Our bigs are usually 6'6" to 6'8", but they're all able to shoot the ball from the perimeter. And we're allowing players to make decisions on the floor. So in a perfect world, I would like to not call a set play in the entire game. Now, we have a lot of quick hitters that we run, but we want our motion offense, meaning player-driven offense, to look so good that it almost looks like a set play when we're playing in the games. And we talk about cutting and spacing and moving off the ball and working in actions and in pairs. We talk about that nonstop, but we're just not going to script our offense, because I think it's very easy to scout scripted offenses. So a lot of our stuff is random, and that's kind of a new term in college basketball, is randomness. And that's what we've been doing since 2005 when we first started this at West Liberty. And then where we get our MO is from a defensive perspective. We're playing 94 feet. We're guarding 94 feet for 40 minutes. And the first thing we're trying to do is we're trying to get a deflection off the initial inbound pass. And then if they're lucky enough and good enough to complete the inbounds pass, we're going to run a trap. And the guy that was on the ball is going to run a trap. And, there's such things as fake traps where guys aren't trapping, full go. We have real traps, and we're trying to get a deflection on the ball. And if they get it out, if the offense gets the ball out of the trap, we're going to chase from behind, and we're going to cover some ground. And I can run all day on a track still. I'm 38 years old, and if you put me on a track, I can run for days. But you put me in one of our open gyms or one of our practices where we're pressing and doing it the right way, I can make it about 2 possessions. It's really hard to play this way. It's dangerous to play this way because the basket's exposed. Where it's a fan-friendly style play where there's going to be a lot of possessions in the game, we're going to create and force a lot of turnovers from the defensive side. And from an offensive perspective, we're not scripting our offense. It's a lot player driven, and that's good for recruiting too. That sounds good for recruits, and recruits want to play, positionless basketball, and they want to press until it's time to do it, because it's really hard. It's hard to play this way.
Now, how do you, as a follow-up, how do you prepare your players to get ready for this style of play in practice? So what does that kind of preparation looks like? Because it sounds like it's pretty intense.
It is. It's what we do is we play. We play basketball, and we can construct drills, and we can do all this stuff, and that stuff's all good. And that stuff probably makes sense to do, but for us, we play a lot of 5-on-5 and a lot of 3-on-3 basketball. And when we play 5-on-5, we're pressing. Like we're out there and we're pressing, and a lot of times we'll play to 80 or 100, and we'll take breaks at 20, 40, 60, and 80. And that's the conditioning for the day as well. So we're not like conditioning a whole lot. We're playing, and guys get in way better shape by actually playing basketball than running suicides all day. And that's what we've done for, since I was a player at West Liberty. It's, we keep track of wins and losses in our program. So every day those open gyms are different teams, and we're posting the results in the locker room too. So guys are held accountable, and, as a coach, if it's our job to win, we're going to play the guys that win those open gyms and guys that win no matter who's on their team.
Yeah. So I was listening to a couple of your other interviews. You mentioned something about constantly recruiting, which is in this day and age is probably something that most coaches, especially in the mid-major ranks, are doing. Presumably that includes talking to the players that haven't hit the portal at IU Indy to, in essence, re-recruit them when they're weighing their options for the next season. In your case, obviously, you're recruiting new players, and then this handful of players that are still at IU Indy. Are you taking a similar approach to these players who would have played for you before, that would have played for you in previous seasons, kind of the holdovers from your previous rosters? Or are you talking to them, taking the approach that you would with brand new recruits?
No, I think for us, when I announced to the team that I was taking the job here at IU Indy, immediately 3 or 4 of them texted and said, they want to come with me. And they want to play this way. And so I think for me, it was important to get those guys that wanted to come with me over here. And then obviously we had a couple transfers that were transferring into West Liberty. 2 of those guys were coming with me as well. So right now we have 5 West Liberty guys, that will be on the roster here at IU Indy. And those guys are going to help bridge the gap. And because what we're doing is different. What we're doing is different, and it's hard to do this, and it's exhausting, both from a mental standpoint, from a physical standpoint. So these West Liberty guys are very important to help, set the culture here. And that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to flip this year one. And it's easier said than done. And it's going to require a lot of work. It's going to require a lot of buy-in. But going back to your question with recruiting, that's how we're recruiting right now is we're talking, let's completely flip the mode here. Let's flip the culture, and let's be a team that the city of Indianapolis can latch onto and be proud of. And from a stylistic standpoint, we're going to be a lot of fun to watch, and we're going to score a lot of points and hopefully get a lot of wins. But just also from a personal standpoint, we're going to get guys here that these people are going to be proud of and easy to cheer for. And that's what we had, for years and decades at West Liberty, is just good people, good kids that our fan base, basically fell in love with and wanted to help and support any way they can. And that's what we're going to try and do here at IU Indy.
Now, one of the things I've actually asked previous coaches, because some of them take the approach of, targeting, hitting the portal, hitting the JUCO ranks, going to the hitting the high school recruits. I talked to Rob Summers back in the can't even remember when I talked. It was in April. And he talked about kind of having that mix of players come in, and then within a month, I'm looking at his roster right now at Cleveland State, and lo and behold, it's a mix of all of those guys. Do you take the same approach when you're looking at kind of building your roster? But looking at some key portal pieces, looking through who's at JUCO in the JUCO ranks, and kind of taking a look at that, those high school recruits, and kind of having a mix of all of those players coming in.
Yeah, I think that's the approach, and for the longest time, we built our roster with straight high school kids, and obviously, recruiting has changed, and it's completely different now in the college landscape, as everyone knows. And we're gonna look at everything. I don't care if guys are high school kids. It doesn't matter to me if they're transfers they have 1 year left, 2 years left. They're junior college guys. They're Division III transfers or NAIA transfers. We're looking at everybody, and we're evaluating everybody right now, especially the situation that we're in. I got the job on Monday of this week or whenever it was, and I had 4 guys on my roster from this past year, and so we don't have the luxury. If we're trying to flip it and win year one, it would be hard to do it with just recruiting high school kids, and so we've got a mixture of transfers, and we've got some good high school kids we feel pretty good about. But moving forward, I think it's really important for us at IU Indy to recruit Indiana, and more importantly, recruit Indianapolis, because I think it's loaded. It's absolutely loaded with talent, and I just think it's important to get those local roots here, and then that way we can draw some local coverage, and families and friends can come, and I think it's just good for the program in a bunch of different aspects. So we're going to recruit high school, we're going to recruit transfers, we're going to recruit everybody. If we feel like they check the boxes for us, they're going to end up here.
Now, you talked about the four holdovers from the. Well, I know there was two players I know who came in from the transfer portal and committed, and then I know there's a couple of others. What kind of conversations have you had with those who had already had committed to IU Indy prior to your hire?
Yeah, and when I said yes to taking this job, I think I met with them the day after via Zoom. I was still in West Virginia and met with them, and just kind of laid out my plan with things. And it was one of those things where if they wanted to come back, absolutely, we'll have them back. But if they didn't like what they heard, they can always, jump back in the portal and look elsewhere. But obviously, the pitch that we present is pretty attractive, right? Like we score a lot, we won a lot. Practices are intense, and so those guys all liked what they heard, and for me, they've responded very well. I've had some good conversations with them individually. They're all on board, and we're gonna start here in a few days, and they're all looking forward to it.
All right. Now, I want to switch over to the coaching staff. Where are you kind of at in the hiring process, and are there specific traits that you're looking for when filling your staff?
Yeah, so I've got 2 guys currently hired, both connected with West Liberty in some capacity. So Connor Haar was with me for 3 seasons. He was my full-time assistant there for a year. Spent last year in the G League. From an offensive standpoint, just elite, really, really good. Got an offensive mind, and the guys are going to love him. And as far as film, he's great. And then Dan Monteroso, who was with me for half the year 2 years ago, and then got called back to Germany to play. He played football at Purdue and then transferred to West Liberty to play basketball for 2 years, and I spent the last, I think, 6 or 7 years playing in Germany. He's going to be great. He comes from a coaching family and super dynamic, and it's going to be a great recruiter for us. And I think it's important that I get some Indiana flavor on the coaching staff as well. So talking to some Indianapolis coaches, talking to some Indiana coaches, and I think it's just important to maybe get someone with a little more experience. I don't want to have 5 young guys on a staff. Maybe get some guys, maybe get a guy or 2 that have some experience at the Division I level that can help bridge the gap with a couple of things and maybe explain some things clearer to us that are coming up from Division II.
Yeah. All right. So this is actually something that I did notice that's kind of certainly different from nearly all the other coaches, specifically in the Horizon League. And this is regarding social media, because usually at the end of these things, I ask everybody where you could find them online. You, on the other hand, have kind of taken a different approach, and I guess other than an IG account that I just saw like last week, you're not very on it very much at all. Does that help you focus more as a coach, or is it more of a personal choice?
Yeah, I just don't want one. I just it's just
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I just don't care about social media. They made me one here. I haven't been on it yet. I have a Facebook account I made in college a long time ago, but I've never got on that. For me, I'm young, but I'm old school with the way I do things. And I have my assistant coaches. They've all got social media. So if I need something on social media, I'll just ask one of them to do it, or I'll ask my wife to do it. She's got all that stuff, so she can take care of it for me.
Well, the IU Indy guys are good. Just ask Luke. He's fun. He's always on it. He's great.
Yeah, Luke's a lead.
All the stuff I get, all the information I get is usually from the IU Indy account or from Luke Basso, the AD. It works out well.
I went to lunch with Luke today, and Luke is like a celebrity in Indianapolis. Like he is security. Seriously, he needs security walking around with him. Everybody knows him. He's a big man around here.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. But yeah, I speaking of Luke, I know he has been working on, obviously since he's been athletic director, he's been working on kind of building an audience for IU Indy, specifically men's basketball, and obviously you're going to be a part of that, part of that process, especially with the new arena coming online sometime soon. Obviously not next season, but soon after, I'm sure. As far as kind of building that community, I know he's already taken you a bunch of places already. Have you had a conversation with him and his staff about kind of their strategy for doing that and your involvement, or what your role is going to be in kind of growing your attendance as part of IU Indy games?
Yeah, I think that's one of Luke's strong points is his ability to maybe think outside the box and come up with some some ideas to help here and there, just on a variety of things, not just ticket sales or just anything within the athletic department. He's not a micromanager at all. He lets his employees work, but he's very involved with everything that goes on in the athletic department. And I think the reason he's got such a good reputation is he's not afraid to be different or think outside the box. And obviously, with him hiring me, what we do is different. It's not done at the Division I level. It's worked very, very well at the Division II level, but in the whole basketball world, everyone's wondering, will it work at the Division I level? And Luke did his homework, and he's researched the system. He's a statistical guy. He's ran the numbers for West Liberty. He's ran the numbers for other schools that have run the system, and for me, that gives me a lot of confidence just knowing that my supervisor is all on board with how we're going to do things, and he's there to help any way possible.
Has he taken you to St. Elmo's yet?
Not yet. I hope that's on the on the menu here pretty soon. We're big pizza guys, and he's telling us all these pizza joints we need to try. So right now I'm living kind of a bachelor life. My wife and daughter are still in West Virginia, so I'm getting my workouts in, but I'm eating out a lot more, and he's giving me some good spots.
I had an opportunity. I was at the tournament this year. Finally had an opportunity to have it. Oh my God, I got to do it again. Not the cocktail sauce. I understand. I've heard some.
We went to another restaurant that had the St. Elmo cocktail sauce. I can eat hot foods, no problem. That was good. That wasn't even hot. That was really good. Really good.
Yeah. So the last thing I wanted to talk to you about, I understand you are a Pittsburgh Pirates fan.
Good time.
Well, I was going to ask you, do you think they're going to keep Paul Skeens long term? They kind of need that guy.
Yeah, I hope so. He's right now it's and I've been a fan for a long time with the Pirates, and I try to go to maybe 6 or 7 games a year, and the Skeens games are tougher to get to than because the ticket sales are pretty tough. And I told Luke and a lot of the other athletic personnel here, the Indianapolis Indians are the AAA team for the Pirates, and I'm one of those guys that I'd rather go to one of those games than other popular sporting events, and I'll be like that nerd up in the corner, keeping score on my little scorecard, watching every pitch. So looking forward to going to the Indians games. That's one thing, and I've been promised, and I hope this comes true, that I'm going to throw out the first pitch at one of those games, and I'm going to throw as hard as I can. I'm not going to loft it in there. I'm going to throw gas.
Yeah. Oh, Luke will make that happen. He absolutely will make that happen. I totally believe that.
I like that. I hope so.
Yeah. So, and hey, you never know. It's a AAA team. Rehab assignments.
Yeah, exactly. Never know. Fingers crossed.
So, all right. Well, that's those are all the questions I have for you, Coach. Thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. Really appreciate you having us, and good luck to you putting together your roster. And we look forward to seeing you this season.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for having me on here.
All right. As always, a great interview. We don't have bad interviews here at the Horizon Roundtable. We just don't. I know, not to toot our own horn, but it was great to talk to Coach Howlett. Funny enough, if you had noticed already, we had actually dropped a story. Chris Schumer wrote it on Ben Howlett. Actually got to talk to some of his former players as well. The players that Coach Howlett mentioned about that are coming over, 3 are from West Liberty, and 2 of them are transfers who were going to go to West Liberty but now are heading to IU Indy. Chris Schumer has those in his story, and incidentally 2 of them are now on the transfer tracker. Where can you find them? Along with all the rest of our episodes and podcast episodes and the rest of our articles? Why, of course, it's HorizonRoundtable.com. As always, the intro music is Swag Enough by Microwave Red featuring Neil and Flytie, produced by Sonny Collins. You can pull us up on your wherever podcasts are available, and of course you can pull us up on your Amazon or Google devices. Next episode is a good question. Not sure when that's going to happen. It's the summertime. When it comes up, you will know. Until then, thank you all for listening.